You are back. You are normal. This is the Your Normal podcast, and I'm your host, Blake Russell. And I'm excited about this evening because this is one of the first times that I didn't seek out the guest. The guest sought out me, and it's somebody that I'm very fond of. I haven't talked to in several years, but we've linked up this evening and we've been chatting, and it was like no time had surpassed at all. Luckily, you guys have the pleasure of listening to Miss Stephanie Andert. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, of course. I'm Stephanie. I reached out to Blake just because I think it's important to hear people speak about mental health and their own struggles through life, as we all do. Like I said, I'm 28. I'm an HR generalist. I have 2 master's degrees, one in HR and one in professional counseling. And I have a sick obsession with dogs and reality TV.
I do remember both of those things. I also remember your sick obsession with Lady Gaga.
Love Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga. Yes, I still love her so much. I saw her in concert the last time she came around. So
No shit.
Incredible. If anyone's able to go see her, she's so great live.
I would say like top 5 things I want in my life is to watch Lady Gaga perform in like an intimate setting, which would probably be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But like maybe just was it at like at an arena or something like that?
Yeah, it was a big arena show, but it was still so cool. It was so awesome. It was such a great experience.
Was it around the time of that movie with Bradley Cooper?
It wasn't, so I didn't get to hear In the Shallows.
Oh man, that song gets me going.
Really missed out.
But that's awesome. I'm really jealous. I love Lady Gaga. And anybody that says they don't like Lady Gaga is lying, because that's
Correct.
Insane. That's insane. Okay, so like other people on this podcast, before we did this thing, I had you send me 5 words, and I have them pulled up here, and I'm gonna kind of pick your brain about it. Okay. It's like I had said, it's been a few years since we've really talked at least this extensively. Other than like a Facebook post here and there. But looking at this, what I remember, I'm not that surprised. But so I'm going to go over these words in no particular order, and I just want to hear what you're thinking. Okay. So let's start with hilarious. Why did you pick hilarious?
Because I think I am truly hilarious. Like, I think I'm really funny, and witty, and have a dark sense of humor. And I'm very sarcastic. I think when a lot of people meet me at first, they think I'm really mean, but I'm able to say things with a very serious face, even though I'm kidding.
Yeah, I love, and that was one of the things I remember loving about you. And to this day, I'll hear something, like I'll hear a song or I'll hear somebody say something away, and it'll make me think of breaking the law, and I think of you.
Oh my God.
And I just remember like just absurd things like that, like us bonding over, and I think I would agree with the hilarious. What about athlete? I know when we were working, where I'm going to talk about where we worked, but you were exercising regularly and stuff. But what do you mean by athlete?
So I don't know if it was a podcast that Kevin Hart was on, but he said, no, I'm not a pro athlete, but I work out, every day a week, or every day of the week, multiple times a day. Even if you don't do what I do, you're still an athlete. And I just love that. I love saying, you know what, I am an athlete. I did my first half marathon the end of last year, and it wasn't even an official one. I just went out and did it and trained for it. I love working out. It's just a great stress and anxiety reliever for me. So I don't know. I like that he used the word athlete, and I like using that to describe.
Like that too. I haven't heard that. I think Kevin Hart does a lot of good within the fitness world. So I think that's cool. I want to ask you, I didn't realize that you'd ran a half marathon. I did that myself in 2018, and that was challenging. Like, how did you train for it? And like, how did it go? Like, how do you feel about it?
I had it on my vision board for last year. And so I said to myself, okay, well, it's like October, I got to get things going. I trained for 7 weeks. And then I did it, and it was miserable.
Yeah.
By mile 9, you're like, this is it. This is where I end. This is how I'm gonna go. Like,
Did your leg go ahead, sorry.
my foot hurt, my hips hurt.
Mhm.
I was at the point of almost crying, but I was like, I have to keep going and just do it.
Yeah, that's the thing I remember too. Like, well, one, like I had a similar experience. Like my legs locked up. I felt like for the last 5 miles, I was just dragging my legs for
Ugh.
my hip flexors, you know.
Mhm.
And it was honestly just mental. Like I don't know how I was able to push my body through that. I didn't train enough because I got sick before it, and I like
Oh
took
yeah.
weeks off, and it sucked. Shit, I forgot what I was going to say about it. Huh. It was really hard. That's for
It was
sure.
really hard. I just did it more for a mental challenge.
Uh-huh.
But then it also sucks because if I go for a run now, it's like if I'm running anything less than 13 miles, there's no excuse for me to stop.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are no breaks anymore. You're going and you're not stopping because you know you can.
I would say that I remember what I was going to say because you mentioned mile 9, and I was talking to this buddy of mine that I went to high school with, who's like an avid runner. He played soccer and he's always ran. He's a real skinny guy. He's always ran. And I was asking him for tips and shit. And he was like, no matter how much you train, he was like miles 7 to 9, you're gonna want to die. And he was like because it's when like he said that like 3 to 6, like your adrenaline's going and you're like, okay, yeah, and you can get through it. But then 7 to 9, that kind of wears off. And then your body starts to get really tired because you've ran 7 miles. And then he said, and then the mental part is like, I still have like 5 miles. And
Right.
it's the worst thing. I don't know why anybody, the only reason I did it, and I'm happy I did it, just to say I did it, checked it
Yes.
off. And I think I'd say I've had a slow decline. Like since I ran that, like I haven't been able to get into that much of a groove training wise, and I don't know, but that's really cool that you did that, and I encourage people to do it. I guess I don't know, maybe not. Would you encourage people to do it?
I would. I think it's just the ultimate self challenge without really almost doing harm to your body. Like I think marathon runners, I mean, God bless your knees and your hips, and I couldn't do it. It would just be too much on my body, but I feel like anyone else, like, just do it. Put your body through the training, work your way through it, and be able to say that you did it.
Do you know who David Goggins is?
Yes.
I think of
I listened.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that like anytime I'm exercising or running and like that like voice creeps in your head where you're like, I don't want to do this. I think of David Goggins being like, don't be a fucking bitch, stay hard, and like I'm like, okay, David, okay. Like that dude's the ultimate motivator.
Wild. Yes.
Yeah. Anybody that doesn't know David Goggins, look him up. Okay, so we talked extensively about athlete. I'm gonna do this next one. Let's talk about anxious. You chose anxious.
I did.
Tell me about that.
It doesn't define me, but it is a part of my everyday. It's always going to be there. Whether you're my best friend, a family member, or if you're in a relationship with me, it's something that comes with me. We were talking about grad school and just how hard it was mentally. And that was like the ultimate challenge. And when I really truly realized that I had anxiety and I needed more help than just the gym. I needed to be on medication and this, that, and the other. So it's definitely an everyday struggle. Some days are better than others, but it's just a part of me and I accept it. And what else are you going to do?
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions come up when you were just talking. Like you mentioned medication. You take have you ever tried therapy, or do you do therapy, or did you ever do any of that?
Yes, I did. I did therapy. And then while I was in therapy, I was actually not really on the best medication for my body, nor was I in grad school either. But I would say the past like 2 or 3 years, I've finally been on a medication that doesn't make me tired or irritable. But I've tried the therapy route. I just see it as a I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say a plus, but it's just something extra that helps me along with, working out. I've recently gotten back into therapy. So
that's cool. It's just like typically with anxiety and things like that, like the combination of medicine and talk therapy is the most optimal situation. Yes. And I'm happy that you shared that. And I think that's another thing. It's important for people to hear regarding that you had to try a bunch of different medication, because I feel like people, especially now in 2021, they want like a quick fix. Everything's quick, like immediate, immediate now culture. And things like that take time, and you got to commit to it. And like you just said, like you went from this one to this one to this one, and now you feel like you're in a pretty good place. And it just took time, because it's not an exact science.
Yes. At my internship, the psychiatrist, actually, it's called a gene site test. Basically, it's just a saliva test, and it gets sent off, and it tells you which medications are in the green, yellow, and red zone. So the green ones would obviously be the best ones that your liver processes and that are best going to go with your body. And that actually helped me tremendously, because the one I was on was in the yellow zone. And now I'm on ones in the green zone, but it goes over like opioids, antidepressants, all sorts of medications.
I didn't know that was a thing. You just taught me, so I had no idea this thing. And it's just like you do a swab. Wow, that's impressive.
It's changed my life.
Yeah, clearly. Like
it's awesome.
That's really, really cool. I'm gonna have to research that at some point. That's really cool. I didn't know about that. One last question about anxiety, and then we can move away from that. I want to know, like, how old were you? Like, when you think back, like, how old were you when you think like, oh, I was really anxious then, and like, what was going on? Like, when did you first notice it?
I would say I was probably like a kid.
Yeah.
And I think it really caught my attention in grad school, because I'm getting, therapy courses shoved down my throat. And I mean, they were talking about anxiety. I'm like, hey, I meet that criteria.
This is me.
Yeah. And so then I was like, yeah, I should probably, start seeing somebody and look into a psychiatrist and see what's going on and get into medication. So I think just grad school was just a huge trigger for me, especially when I switched over to the business master's, because I didn't have a background in business. So it was completely new to me. Those classes were 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and it was just such a toll on me mentally and physically. And that was probably the time where I was like, okay, this is something more serious than I can handle on my own.
Yeah, it like just took it to another level, basically. It was something you were aware of, and then whenever that happened, you're like, this is consuming me.
Yes.
Yeah. And credit to you, like you sought treatment, and kudos. I mean, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, not kudos, like what, like as if I'm like, I don't know. That was weird.
Good for you and your anxiety.
Yeah. Congratulations, you pass. So, okay, these last two, we have a hyphenated word for this one. We have self-aware.
I consider myself to be somebody that's very self-aware. I know my healthy and unhealthy coping skills. I know what my needs are in a relationship, whether it be friendships or an intimate relationship. Like I I'm in HR, so I'm Monday through Friday, I'm on, 40 hours plus a week. So when I leave work, I have to have me time. I have to let myself recharge and just be by myself. My friends probably think I'm pretty introverted, because before COVID, if they asked me to go to dinner or go get drinks, I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just talk to people for 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's just being aware of those moments when I can feel like, okay, I need to recharge. I need to be by myself and have some me time. And I'm also aware that I'm sensitive. I probably just let a good cry out once a month, just because work's stressful, or I miss my family, or just because I just need to do it. It's just part of me and what I got to do.
I think it's a super liberating thing when you like when you do become more self-aware or
Mhm.
entirely self-aware, and like even like your negative qualities, your positive qualities, and like if you can just be honest about it, like it's a liberating feeling.
Yes.
I want to know with the introverted piece, like you said, your friends would probably identify you as introverted.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that label, or do you not really look at it that way? How do you feel about
My Myers-Briggs says I'm extroverted.
that?
Um, I I feel like I'm half and half because when I'm around people and I'm in a social setting, I thrive. But I'm also perfectly fine being by myself. Like I have no problem being in silence, being alone. So I would like to think I'm like 50-50.
Yeah, I 100% identify with what you're talking about for me personally too. Like I
Mhm.
was until a few years ago, I was like perpetually single and I was completely fine and like I wouldn't have to see people for weeks at a time and
Mhm.
I don't know, I think and then not like you said like if I'm in a social situation, I have no problem I mean I'm a fucking therapist. I talk to people like all the
Right.
time. So so I completely get it. Like and it doesn't have to me, I think that there's so much emphasis on introverted, extroverted, and I don't get it. Like, we're just like, you either want to like be by yourself for a little bit or you don't. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't get all the labeling, but um, cool. I want to get into like some other topics here, but I want to touch on this last one. I think people won't be surprised to hear that the last word is caring.
Yes.
Because you said that you had the counseling and all that background, but why did you choose caring of all the words?
I know it seems like such a like the word nice, it's just kind of like so plain and so like, okay, you're caring. I see it as a double-edged sword. So, of course, having a therapy background, we are taught to see the best in people and people can change and, um, just be positive and this, that, and the other. And so that's where I can care too much. And then I end up jeopardizing myself in those situations. But I also am very caring. I'm a giver. I love to give gifts and surprise people with things. And I just like doing nice things for people. I just care about people's well-beings mentally and physically. And yeah.
Can you give an example? And if you can, it's cool because I'm putting you on the spot. But like where I don't remember exactly how you put it, but you said that like where being caring like can overextend yourself and like come back on you.
Mhm.
Can you think of like an example or like what you mean by that?
I would say it's almost like being taken advantage of.
Okay.
I don't want to give a specific example, but
Yeah.
um, sometimes people just take your kindness and the person that you are and they run with it. Whether or not it's going to be detrimental to you, they don't care because you care about them. So,
Yeah.
who cares if they care about you? So sometimes I can be blind to how other people treat me.
Hmm.
I don't
It's
know.
like
It's just kind of,
psychological warfare or something like
yes. Hmm.
taking a strength of yours and making it a weakness, and you maybe not
Yep.
even being aware of it. I got you.
Hmm.
Um, cool. So I want to transition into the next portion of this conversation. Now that we kind of have an idea of who you view yourself as
Okay.
within 5 words.
Hmm.
You've mentioned a lot. You mentioned that you're in HR. You have a counseling background. I want you to just freely kind of talk about who Stephanie is, why should people like know about you, and like who you are as a person, where you're from, whatever you want to speak on here. But let
Okay.
us know who you are.
Okay. So I am originally from St. Peter's. I currently reside in Kansas City and I've been here for almost 3 years now. But born and raised in St. Peter's, I have an older sister. Mom and dad are still happily married and have been for almost 40 years.
Hell yeah!
Um, yes,
Congrats if you're listening.
they will be.
Yeah.
So that was their shout out. I came out as lesbian when I was 23 or 24 is really when I started to accept it, and to tell people about it. Um, the last place I wanted to live was Kansas City, yet I ended up here. I wanted to go somewhere that I didn't know anybody and I could just do my own thing and start fresh. I mean, I applied to Australia, New Zealand, you name it, and then I ended up in Kansas City. So
What happened? Why didn't you go those places? What happened?
I never heard anything back.
Oh, damn. Bummer.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it was tough because I didn't have any business related job experience. So they just saw my degree. And so luckily the place I'm at now, they were looking for somebody green and who they could mold to do their processes and how they wanted things done. And so I took the job and said, let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why people should listen to my story. If anything, I want people to just take something away and learn something, whether it just be about mental health, how we just talked about that, or maybe you know somebody who's going through an identity struggle, or maybe you know someone who might have problems coming out to their friends and family, just learning something new that could help them along the way.
Hell yeah. And I'm happy that we're doing this. And I think I have confidence that at least somebody will find something in what we're talking about. And I think that's the point of the podcast, and that's the point of you coming on. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, of course.
So we have a whole, like you mentioned that you came out when you were 23 or 24.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that whole topic planned, and I want to get into that, and I have a lot of questions for you, and I appreciate you being open to talking about that. But before we do that, I want to talk about a little bit about how you and I know each other, and like our time at Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri, and like where we worked. Can you explain to people how we came to know one another and where we were working, and tell people about SAS?
It makes me so happy thinking about it now, but at the time I was miserable.
Yeah, me too.
So we were grad assistants, which is great because our schooling was paid for, but we basically worked for free, and we were student success advisors in the student and academic,
Student Academic Support Services.
Support Services. There you go. SAS. Yeah. Because we're sassy.
Yeah.
I
really
so
we
would.
That. I
didn't. We helped students that were struggling in school, whether helping them get organized, just having somebody that they could talk to if they were kind of stressing. And then we also proctored exams. That was a lot of fun. We would also have days where we'd have to promote our office. And so we would have to take this fucking popcorn machine. And this popcorn machine was not made to be mobile. Like, it was a old time carnival popcorn cart that was supposed to just be in one spot. But we had to bring that bitch up and down steep hills and upstairs.
Roll it along campus.
Yeah, like with its like crooked wheels, and it was just, so that place just kept us so humble. But we were literally stuck in a room with 2 other people, so 4 of us all in one room having to meet with students, but also shooting the shit and probably talking about things we shouldn't be talking about. But it was fun.
It was fun. I have fond memories of it. When it was happening, it was dreadful. Like the day, because we were, not only were we working, we were like in the same room as one another, literally looking at each other, right? Mm-hmm. Like for the longest time, I sat right across from you.
Yeah.
But we would sit in this square fucking room with like no color for 8 hours, and then we would immediately like walk across the campus and go to school for like 4 hours or something. Mm-hmm. And we would do that like, I don't remember, 2, 3, 4 days a week or something. And that was our life for like 2 years. And you sounds like 3 years, right? Because you switched.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Man, that was a trying time, but I did make some fond memories and some friendships. And anytime I see you, I feel like I'll want to catch up, and like I genuinely care about you as a person. And I feel like that about a lot of people that work there. I want to ask you if you remember you mentioned the popcorn machine. Do you remember the story?
I know where you're going with this, and I was hoping you were going to bring it up.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
When you ripped your pants.
Yeah, tell people what happened, please.
So I don't know who you were carrying it with, but like, you had to we took the machine off of the cart,
Mhm.
and you either squatted down to pick it up or you were setting it down. And then all of a sudden I just hear, I think I just ripped my fucking pants. And then one of the guys that worked there, remember Jared? He was like,
I did.
let me see. And I'm like, let me see. He just ripped his pants.
It was
What are you
immediate.
trying to see, sir?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, he did not hesitate. He was like, "Let me see it. Let me check it out." And I was like, "I don't. Okay, yeah, it's my ass." But yeah, that was at the point in my life where I was like eating a burrito every day for lunch, and I was putting on some, and we were sitting down all the time. I was putting on some weight, so my pants were a little too small, and that wasn't my most favorite memory.
Those quesadillas, though, I sometimes think about those quesadillas from like the whatever that place was called, where we
Yeah,
could go and get like our one free meal.
yeah,
Those quesadillas were fire.
I know, and they had good sandwiches. Like it was good. Like Lindenwood, shout out, you guys have a good lunch hall or whatever it's called. I don't know what you
Yep.
call it. I also there's one other thing that I think about often, and it was with my Quick Trip drink.
Oh yeah,
Do
you
you
had a
remember?
big ass fly at the bottom of
Yeah,
your drink.
yeah. So we're
That
all
place
just
constantly kept you humble.
yeah. If you thought that it was if you thought it was like the worst it could be, it would one up you like regularly.
Oh yeah.
We were like sitting there, and I had a big ass Quick Trip iced tea because I love Quick Trip iced teas. And I remember like I just looked down and I saw a dead fly in like the very bottom of the cup, and I don't remember what I said, but like I started to say something, and you go, "Yeah, you got a fly in there." Like you called it out, like you specifically called it out, and I was like,
that thing was like a horse fly. Like that was a big old fly.
It was like, and I'm a germaphobe, man, and like I have a lot of anxiety too, and like I grew up kind of a hypochondriac, and like that was like mortifying to me.
I remember Kelsey was like, "Go throw up. You can go throw up. It's fine."
Yeah, and I did. I went and did the damn thing. So yeah, like we were in this position, like working towards something that we wanted, and we like I think that like there was things about talking to the students that I enjoyed. I didn't like the part about helping them with their grades, but when they would talk to me about like shit going on in their lives, like I really liked that, and then that's not surprising. But I know that at that time you were strictly in school for professional counseling, and I don't know if I was there when you made the switch. Can you speak a little bit to why you went from professional counseling to business, and like what went into that and why you changed?
Yeah, I was thinking more and more about being a professional therapist and having one-on-ones with people all day, every day. And it just wasn't something I thought that would be healthy for me. Nor I don't think it was something I really wanted to do all day, every day. And when I got into my internship, that kind of became more apparent to me. I was interning at a group therapy place, all different ages, but the group therapies were 3 hours long. And so just sitting in there, I'm like, I don't think this is for me anymore. And so I wanted to do something where I could put those skills to good use and still help people. And that's when I found HR, and I'm able to really use those skills when it comes to employee relations. If someone's angry or upset, I'm able to just stay here and not meet them where they're at. And I'm able to kind of, I don't want to say like change the business, but kind of be a voice for the people and try to implement or bring changes to people's attention. It's very rewarding. I like it. I really, really love it. I don't like it. I love it, but it is stressful.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, Sam, my girlfriend, she's an HR generalist too, and she likes it for all the same reasons that you were just saying. Like, she really likes the employee relations side, and like she likes researching and like trying to make the company more inclusive and all the stuff that's like trying to be a good person and like make the company a more inclusive, like good place to work for people, right? But I want to know, like, because she's spoken to me about things. I don't want to say too much because she didn't tell me I could talk about this. But like, do you feel like people are uncomfortable around people that work in HR? Is that something that you've observed, like other employees?
I would say some. We are very casual, so I'll walk around in like jeans and a hoodie.
That's cool.
So it's not, because I'm in a warehouse, so it's not like I'm walking around in a suit. So it's not too intimidating. I think HR just has a bad rep anyways. It's like, oh, HR, you're going to HR. Oh man, HR wants to talk to you. But it's not always bad. Like we can joke around and have fun with the associates, and we try not to make HR scary. Like you're not always in trouble when you go to HR. Like, but
I tried to. Sam becomes frustrated at it sometimes, like just because it is like it just is what it is. Like people are just kind of and I try to explain it like it's like when you're driving and you have a police officer driving behind you and you start going exactly the speed limit and they're probably like, get the fuck out of my way. Like I'm trying to get, and they're not worried about you, but like, you're just going to worry about it because that's just what it is. Like people are
correct.
just, so I don't know. I just wanted to know your input on that.
And some people just don't give a shit. They'll do whatever. They don't care who we are.
Yeah.
Do what they want.
Yeah. Which is, I respect that. That's a big flex. Like
it is. Yeah.
One last thing. Do you remember that red bird that Tammy left?
Yeah, I have it.
I was gonna ask if you still had it.
Yeah, it's right on my shelf right there.
Really?
Yeah.
When we're done, I want to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Cool. Nobody knows what we're talking about, but that's cool.
No, but yeah, I still have it. It's right on my
shelf. Okay. So when you reached out to me, you mentioned that you were willing and you wanted to talk about identity and coming out in your mid-20s. Mm-hmm. So I want to transition to that topic. We're at like 25 minutes left. Okay. I want to know, actually, I think I'm going to do it like this. I just want you to speak about it however you want, and then I'll ask questions as they come out. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So what do you want to speak about it?
I guess I'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
After kind of coming to terms with like my sexuality and everything, I realized that I've kind of it's just kind of been there since I was little. I've always had crushes on females rather than males. I've really and truly have never had any true desire to be with a male. Like I can sit here and say like, you're an attractive guy, you're handsome, but there's no desire for me to be with you.
Sure.
And so I really struggled with that. You know, in college, I really didn't know anybody that was gay. So I just was, shoving it down and shoving it down and shoving it down. And so when I would go out on the weekends with my friends and we'd be drinking, I would just be so mean and angry. And the next day they're like, you were so mean to us last night. And it's because I was having my own internal struggle for, how many years now. But, your friends are flirting with guys and, having relationships. And I just had no desire whatsoever to do that. And so even in grad school, it was still, I was becoming more comfortable with it, but it was still a struggle. The only way I really became comfortable with myself in saying it is I would stand in front of the mirror and just say, I'm gay. I like women. I'm a lesbian. And so once I became comfortable saying it to myself, I was able to tell other people. Unfortunately, some of the ways I've told people I've been intoxicated, that hasn't happened in the last couple of years because I'm more secure now. But at first I just felt like the only way, it just gave me that confidence to say something. And so the first people I actually told, were my friend Ashley and Amanda, and we were all at the lake. And of course we'd been drinking. And I was just sobbing to my friend Amanda, like, I don't want to be this, but I am. I don't want to do this. Like, I just don't want this to be me and who I am. And she's like, Steph, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, nobody cares. So then my friend Ashley rounds the corner and I'm just still sobbing and sobbing. And then I think that next day or that Sunday, I came home and I told my mom, and she just kind of stared at me and she said, okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Shout out. Your mom's name's Jen, right?
Jen and Dan. Yep.
Shout out to Jen for that one. That's good.
She's like, who cares? All right. Yeah. Who cares? Okay. And so of course she asked me the questions, you know, are you sure? Or how do you know? And I don't fault her for asking those questions. I think she just wanted me to be sure of myself before I just started telling everybody my business. Um, and then I think I told a few more friends, and then I told my dad, who I was probably the most scared to tell. I went to private school, raised Catholic, all the way to high school. And I was nervous that his beliefs might play a factor in how he responded. And so it's me, my mom, and my dad. And so I told him, and he said, well, I kind of figured because you never brought any guys around. And so my mom starts crying. So I start crying. And then my mom was like, Dan, just hug her. Okay, she's our daughter. Just hug her.
Did he hug you? Did you get the hug?
Yeah. So we
Hell
just
yeah.
went into this family embrace, and my dad's been fine with it. He's not as involved or questioning as my mom. She likes to be up in my business, but I've brought a significant other home before, and he has treated her just as he would treat anybody else. And that's really all I can ask for. He doesn't treat me any differently. So I have been very lucky and blessed with the friends and the family that I have for not being judged. If family does watch this might be the first time they've heard me say it. I am not the type of person who thinks I need to make a cover photo that says, hey, I'm gay, everybody, or, you know, wear a sticker on my head that says I'm a lesbo. Like, it just, you know, if you find out, you find out, and that's it. My sister gets a lot of questions from her friends and family, and I always just tell her, just tell them to ask me. Like, it's fine. Like, I'll answer their questions. Like, I don't need to come out. Like, you're straight, you didn't have to come out. Why do I have to come out? Like,
Totally. Yeah.
so I just hate that about it. I want to say it in conversation. I'll say it in conversation, and that's how you find out. Like, I just don't think it needs to be a whole big thing.
It just, like, when you say it in conversation, just like if you're dating somebody at the time, like you just say like my girlfriend and I, or like whatever it is, just like because that's the thing. Like, it's not only is it something that you have to like you had this long, like, arduous process of like coming to, I want to say coming to terms. Is coming to terms an offensive way of saying it, or
no?
Okay.
Because I had to accept it myself before I.
Yeah, because you had mentioned that you said that, like, you didn't, like, when you were coming out for the first time to your friends, I don't remember their names, I apologize, but you said that you said out loud, like, I don't want to be this, or something like that. It's just silly that, like, not only do you have to, like, hold on to that, and it carries so much weight, right? And you were saying it was like coming out in anger and all this stuff, but also, like, it's your job to, like, inform other people about your sexuality. That doesn't make any sense. I've never had to tell anyone explicitly, like, I like girls, like, I like
right.
I like I don't know. I'm not going to go into all that, but yeah, like, I've never had to I've never had to explicitly say that. And I think that's important for people to hear, that maybe don't know anybody that's gay, or have anybody in their family, or like have any misconceptions. Like, it's not on the person to, like, spoon feed you anything.
Right. If I want to post a picture of a significant other on, like, social media, fine. But again, I don't need to explain my personal life so I can appease your nosiness.
Yeah, it's other people. Like, it's not about them. Like,
right.
So
right. And if you have a question, just ask me.
So, one, appreciate you sharing in this format. Appreciate you sharing in general. I have a lot of questions. Maybe not a lot, but questions came up when you kind of went through your timeline there. I think of how to phrase this first one. So, I think you said that it was, like, always kind of there, is how you put it. Even when you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when you look back to when you were a kid, now that you've, like, accepted it and you're, like, living your true self and you're self-aware, when you look back as a kid, like, did you always know? Like, what kind of thoughts were you having, or, like, what was going on when you were a child?
So the one thing I can remember is I was, like, putting hearts around girls in the yearbook when I was little.
Nice.
Like, come on, like, that should have been the first sign. Like, I should have known. I actually remember one time my sister and I were in a fight and she called me a lesbian. I'm like, Mom, what's a lesbian? Why'd she call me that?
Tell me more information. So
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I just kind of knew. I just thinking about it now, I've just always been more attracted to females than males. I just, I don't know, like with the hearts in the yearbook and just finding like women more attractive. Of course, you know, sometimes in like high school or in college, like you'll make out with a girl and it's just a phase or like that's just what you do. And so I was like, okay,
yeah,
I guess that's just what you do.
yeah.
But for me, it's just like, no, that's what you're gonna do the rest of your life. But I just didn't know it at that time. I don't know. I feel like in maybe high school I had an inkling, but again, I just shoved it and pushed it away and said, no, there's no way. Um, and I believe in God. I believe in God as in there's a higher power. I don't believe in everything the Bible says or go to church every Sunday by any means. Um, but I would literally pray and just be like, please don't make me a lesbian. Like, please just like, don't make me this. Just make these things go away. I wasn't ready to accept it. And sometimes I think to myself, do I wish I would have come out sooner? My initial answer is yes, but I don't think my maturity level was where it was when I was finally accepting and when I did come out. So I'm glad I did at the age. I mean, my anxiety was more under control. I was just more confident and secure as a person, and my maturity was a lot better. So I think it just all kind of worked out how it should have.
Do you think like, because the way you're describing it, it's like it's always kind of there, but like you were questioning it along until like
Mhm.
late high school, college, kind of in that range. Um, do you think that that contributed to any of your anxiety?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just the unknown,
Mhm.
not knowing who I was or what the future was going to hold. Because in my head, I was like, man, you know, when I was 18, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, and well, in 10 years, I'm going to have a husband and 2 kids. And, you know, I wasn't following the norm or, you know, what the majority was doing. And so the fear of being different, and I felt I was already so different because, you know, I'm taller than the average female, like I'm 5'11", and that was already something that made me insecure. And so just having to add one more thing onto that was just, it kind of just added on to the anxiety as well.
That makes sense. I like that you kind of illustrated it that way because I I don't want people to get like, because when somebody comes out as gay, it's like that becomes, I think, oftentimes not rightfully so, but that becomes like their identifier. Like that
Hmm.
is that, and like for you to say like I'm also tall and this, and like that's just another thing. I think that illustrates it nicely. Like if you're a heterosexual, you don't get identified as heterosexual, and that's all that encapsulates you. So it's important, I
Right.
think, for you to share like that's just one component of me, and at the time, like I couldn't like you were saying like you couldn't like take that on, like it was just like I
Right.
can't do this right
Hmm.
now. So you mentioned religion, and you mentioned that like you grew up you went to Catholic high school.
Yep. Grade school and high school.
So that was like a huge part of your life as a young person. Do you think that there was like fear of God, or do you think there was like anything like that that was like contributing to you like having a lack of clarity regarding your sexuality?
I don't think so because I don't really remember it ever being pounded in my head that like a man and a woman are not supposed to be together. Like that's not okay. And so
Mm-hmm.
as I got older and in high school, I formed my own opinion of like they're not, you know, if two men want to be together, I mean, it's not doing me any harm. What do I care? Like live your best life, do what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, kindergarten to 8th grade, I don't really remember it ever being like a you have to be with a man and this, that, and the other. But in high school, I just formed my own opinion and carried it from there.
Yeah, that's good to know. Because when you were describing all of this, like I was thinking about like my experience as a heterosexual person, and like I
Hmm.
remember I can think of like when I was like 7 or something. I can think of like two girls in elementary school. I was like, I love them, you know, and like I knew
Hmm.
I was like that I was drawn to females. And then as I got older, like I knew definitively that I was heterosexual, but because I was kind of toying around with like having a hard time understanding how you were saying that like you had such a lack of clarity. And I think it's because like for me, like you were saying you were drawing hearts around girls and like
Mhm.
how couldn't I have known? I think it might, like, is it possible that it's because like the societal norm or the majority is heterosexual and that's the culture that we live in, and then for you like you weren't feeling that way, so like
Mhm.
you were, part of you was like maybe trying to like make yourself fit into that culture when really that's just not what it was. And then for me, it was like I just fit, so I didn't have to think about it, and then that was it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. I thought about it a lot, probably more than I should have. I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
Um,
You want me to
and
say what
I
I
feel
said?
like I had something really great to say.
I was saying that like there's the culture and like I fit into it naturally.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I just thought like there's no way. Like there's no way out of all these people in the world and of all the people I know, like I'm gonna be the one that's gay. Like there's no way. Like my dad's one of 10. Like I have like 35 first cousins and
Mhm.
nobody else is out, but it's gonna be me. Like there's no way. Like
Did it like piss you off at all? Like, did you feel mad or resentful that it was you?
um at first I was really angry. I'm like, oh my God, like now it's one more thing I gotta kind of conquer and come to terms with. Like first it was my height. I mean, I hated it. And then it's like, okay, well now it's my sexuality. Like great, because I always thought something was wrong with me. I'm too tall or I'm not attractive enough that guys don't want to like speak to me. But it's like I didn't want to speak to them. Like I was putting no effort into like meeting
Uh-huh.
guys or flirting like my friends were. Like I just no desire
Yeah.
at all. So it was just a really confusing time as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure like you not being attracted to dudes, like you probably like either subconsciously or in some way weren't like really putting yourself out there. So then there was
Mhm.
just like it was nothingness. Like nothing was happening.
Right.
And that makes sense. I wanted to ask you about when you came out for the first time at the lake, when you said you were drinking and like
Mhm.
you like sobbed and you said that you didn't want it to be so. Like, what do you think? Have you thought about it? Have you reflected on it? And like, what do you think it was about that night or that day, that like that was the moment that you finally did it, and why you decided that time?
I think I had already had it, like I was already comfortable with it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at that point, I was like, yep, I'm gay. And I wanted to tell them anyways. And I think I was wanting to tell them that weekend, obviously not wasted, but I wanted to just bring it into conversation or just say, like, hey guys, just so you know, like, this is who I am. But I think the alcohol provided some confidence, and
Mm-hmm.
helped me loosen up a little and to just kind of blurt it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, I still wasn't purely okay with it because I was saying, like, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be gay, I don't want to. And just hearing my friend's reassurance helped a ton. Like, it's okay, Steph. Like, it's not a big deal. You're fine. It's good for you.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. It just is like
Hmm.
that's it.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, because you were saying that you didn't want to be gay. Do you, like, what goes into that? Because I don't want to assume. Like, I think I can make
Hmm.
a rational like conclusion about what you might mean by that. But like, why would you not want to be? And like, why did you have so much like, I don't want to call it dread, but like hesitancy to like
Hmm.
accept that?
I think it's one, being different. We're already all so different. And then, tack one more thing on top of that to set me aside from other people. Um, I always just had this thought in my head that I would get married at a young age to a guy and then have a family. So then on top of that, it's like, well, shit, if I want to have kids, I have to jump through like all these loopholes and do this and do that. So it's not as easy in that respect. And then just worrying about the acceptance of friends and family. At one point, I just told myself, if somebody's not okay with it, they're not meant to be in your life, and that's okay. And you'll have to grieve that loss. and kind of move on. But it was just being different. It was not being part of the normal way of
Yeah.
life, or what's most common, and that's not what you're supposed to be, or that's not what you're supposed to do, and all that stuff.
Do you think that, like, did you think you had like the insight to like, did you think your life was going to be harder? And also, like, having come out and like accepting that that's like a component of who you are as a person, like, has it made your life harder in any way?
I thought it was going to be harder. I thought it was going to be more difficult in the respect of, one, having to tell people. Um, you know, I absolutely hate that people assume just because you're a guy, you automatically like females, and just because I'm female, I like guys. So I hate when people come up to me and say, "Oh, so you have a boyfriend?" So sometimes
Yeah.
it can be sometimes I'm a butthole, and I'll be like, "No, I'm gay."
That doesn't surprise me that you do that.
But other times, like, I'll just be like, "No." I cannot remember who asked me this, but they said, "Oh, so do you have a partner?" And my jaw dropped. I had never felt more respected
Mhm,
in my whole life. I mean,
mhm.
it was 2019 or 2020 or whatever. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, just ask people if they have a significant other or a partner. Like, let's stop assuming.
Mhm,
But I did think it was going to be harder for sure.
mhm.
Is it harder? No, not at all. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
like literally nothing is different.
I
Besides,
wonder.
I would say
Oh,
I'm a little more confident. I told my friend, once I was comfortable saying it to myself in the mirror, I saw somebody different. I saw somebody that was more confident. They weren't as angry. Um, I've maybe been angry once while drinking since coming out. Like, has not happened since maybe like college or grad school.
that's wonderful. That's,
It
I mean,
is.
that's very indicative of that was like deep
Mm-hmm.
within you, deep within you. I think it's interesting to hear you say that you feel like your life hasn't been really harder in any way, and it kind of like spurred this question in my mind. Like, do you think any of that has to do with like the timing of you coming out? Like, do you think if you would have came out in high school that things would have been more difficult, or like any other time in your life? Because I feel like the timing of it was like you had gone through college and like people were more accepting of it. And I know high school like can be a really hard time for kids and
Mm-hmm.
identity. Do you think it would have been different anyway, or not really?
High school, yes, just because it was a Catholic high school, and um, I can't even tell you anyone in that school who was gay at that time. So I would have probably been the one known, and I just, I would hope that I wouldn't have been picked on or made fun of, but I feel like that probably would have been the case, unfortunately. I'm really jealous of high schoolers today who literally are transgender and are gay and are just so proud of it, and they have such an acceptance from the majority of their classmates. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Um, College, I don't think it would have been harder, just because I don't know, at that point you're just so much more accepting, and there's so many different types of people around you. I mean, my school was literally like 95% Caucasian. And so college was a pretty big culture shock for me. Um, but just being around so many different people, I think it would have been maybe a little easier than high school. Um, but when I came out, it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's great. All right, we're
It,
gonna move on then.
it's like almost anticlimactic. It's like something that's such a
Yes,
thing for you for years and years, and then it's just like, all right, cool. What do you want to watch on TV, or like what, like whatever, like.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I'm happy, like hearing your coming out story. Like, I'm really like, I'm happy for you that like the people you had in your life that you initially said were so accepting and had such a good response, and two, like how wonderful your parents were, because
Mhm.
I mean that doesn't always go that way for folks, and I think that is remarkable, and I'm sure that made your life so much easier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I cannot. You hear horror stories of people getting kicked out of their homes and just being shunned by their parents. I mean, I could only imagine. And my mom has always told me, she's like, when I hear these stories, I don't know how parents can't love their child because of, they might not be comfortable in their skin, and maybe they're female and they identify as a male, or, because they like who they like. She goes, I cannot imagine you not being in my life because you're gay.
Yeah.
She's like, that's just crazy to me.
It's like, it just seems silly to me. Like, just the way I think, and like, it is silly. I think it's objectively silly. I would be interested, like, I don't know anyone personally, and maybe that's because I've like indirectly like not associated with people that wouldn't be accepting, but I don't know anyone that's like strongly opposed to this topic. Like, I would be interested in talking to somebody just to see, like, outside of religion, I don't know what it could be, because it's like we were describing earlier, it's just a component of who you are, and it's like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care. But we're getting like close to like time, and I'm being mindful of it. But I want to ask you about, on a previous podcast with Caroline. If anybody hasn't listened, it's good. She's a social worker here in St. Louis, and we talk about mental health and stuff. But we also talk about dating and like the Tinders and the Bumbles and the online dating. I just want to know, like, a little bit from your perspective. You are single, yes?
Yes.
I want to know, like, what the dating life is right now for you personally, and like if you can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, dating sucks, especially on apps, because when you match with somebody, it's the same old, hey, how are you? How was your weekend? What do you like to do? Where do you work? I mean, it's just that, just beginners questions, and I don't know, it's hard to get a connection. At the same time, I don't know if you've heard the term unicorn.
I don't know in what context. Maybe not. No, tell me what you mean.
So I had to learn the hard way, but so there will be couples looking for a third, like another female to join. And so the girl or the female that joins is called a unicorn. And so when I was first on dating apps, like my dumb ass, I was just, going through, not really reading the bio. So I matched with a female, and I go through the bios, and it says, looking for someone to join my husband and I. And I was like, abort. Like, what did I get myself into? But it's just, it's not fun. I mean, I'm naive and thinking, I love like the fairy tale story of like being in a grocery store and you see someone across like in a different aisle and your eyes meet and you just fall in love. Like, that would be so ideal for me.
Yeah, totally. It'd be ideal for everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, I was also, my very first date with a female, I was ghosted. Literally texted her from work saying, hey, leaving in about 15 minutes, see you in a bit. Nothing. And we had been talking, previous in the afternoon and in the morning. I texted her again, like, hey, we still meeting? Nothing. Never heard from her. Nothing. And I was so excited. My first date with, being who I truly am and accepting. And then I just got shit on.
God damn it.
Like, I know. And it's such a knock on your self-esteem, because you're thinking, okay, well, what did I say? Was it something I said? What happened? Like, what's going on? I would literally rather someone be like, you know what? I'm not digging it. I'm sorry. Than just not saying anything.
Yeah. Like, why do you think that's so hard for people to say? Like, hey, I don't want to do this. Or like, I'm no longer interested. Like, it doesn't take much. Why is it so hard for people to do?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it's so rude. It just drives me nuts. But dating, it's just hard to date. I tried to get into like Facebook groups for like the LGBTQ community in Kansas City. And even when like pre-COVID, like if I were to go out, I mean, I can't tell who's straight and who's not.
Yeah. And like you said, you don't have a sign on your head, like you said earlier.
Right.
Like,
so it's like, could we all carry around like a green cup if you're gay, or like,
like a handkerchief or something?
Yeah. Like, I just have no clue. So it's hard to like figure things out. And, you see somebody attractive and you're like, well, shit, I don't want to go up to her, because if I do, and she's like, ew, like I like guys, what are you doing?
That is a tough, do they have, like, are there gay bars in Kansas City?
There are, but I feel like they are more geared towards men.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because as I was asking that question, I was like, I
Missy
typically
B's.
think of, huh?
Missy B's.
I'm not familiar.
Okay. It's a
Is that
really
like,
great gay club. It's a lot of fun, but it's mostly geared towards men.
yeah, but that was what, like, I was thinking, like, as I was asking that question, like, when I think of gay bar, I think of males. I don't think of lesbians. So I didn't know. I guess that's not a thing, I guess, is it?
I don't really know.
Huh.
Because then it's like, well, like sometimes my friends will go with me because gay bars are fun. But most of the time, like we just go to bars in Westport or, Kelly's or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know who's what around here. So
There's no way to know. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It makes me think that, would you say that like the Tinders and the Bumbles and all that of the world make it easier because it's just out there, like the thing that you need to know is out there? Or is it just as hard just because of, what it is to date online?
I think it's just so hard because someone can be on there, but then they're only looking for a hookup.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, no, like I'm looking for a relationship. I'm trying to find a wife. Like, I'm not here to play games. Like I'm looking for a long-term relationship, and it's hard to find somebody else on a dating app that is looking for the same thing and is as serious as I am.
Yeah, I hope for you that you find somebody at the grocery stores and you lock eyes, and like I hope for that for you. But
ideally, it would be at Aldi.
Aldi forever, by the way.
I love
Aldi. their aisle with like all their just like shit you didn't know that you needed, but you get, like, it has like I don't know, the miscellaneous stuff. It's wonderful.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think that I want to ask you one more question, and then we can kind of shoot the shit for a minute. We'll get out of here, okay? Have you, you don't have to air out all of your like intimate past, but like, have you had a significant relationship since coming out? Like, and when I say significant, interpret that however you will. And like, did it stem from like online dating apps, or like, how did it come to be? And you don't have to, if you don't want to speak about it, like, a whole lot, you don't have to. But what are your thoughts on that?
I was, and it was actually from a dating app. I was actually quite surprised. Both in Kansas City. We lived relatively close, and we actually talked for quite a while before actually meeting up. But yeah, I think it was Bumble. I think it was one of the dating apps. But yeah, it was weird because I thought, well, like her pictures say one thing, but is she going to show up and it be completely different? Because that's happened to me before, and it's also not a very good feeling that you just feel like you've kind of been like lied to and catfished a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that turned out into like dating, talking into a relationship, and then things didn't work out. But there is hope. There's hope in the world of online dating.
The apps can work. I've been with a girl and I lived with her, and it can work. I don't know. That's a different.
You're one of the lucky ones.
I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very lucky. Like, she's in there cooking dinner and stuff. When I get off here, I'm gonna have food. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Live my life.
All right. Well, I mean, I want to ask you, like, is Lady Gaga coming out with any new music, or what's going on with her? I haven't heard from her in a long time.
She has Oreos out, and they are pink with green icing, and they're fantastic.
What?
Yeah, chromatic Oreos.
I don't have any idea what you're saying. What is this? What's going on?
So she has an album, and it's I think it's called Chromatic. Like her most recent, so it has like Stupid Love, or like Stupid Love, and then the one with Ariana Grande. I'm drawing a blank.
Dude, I don't even know. I'm sure I've heard the songs. I don't know.
Yes. But she did like a collab with Oreo, and the cookie part is pink, and then the icing is green. And
you're talking about actual Oreos that you eat with like cookies. Okay.
And so my coworker went to Branson for one of her kids' like soccer tournaments, and she was like, I got a surprise for you. She'd found the Oreos and got me some.
That's awesome. Are they good? Did they just taste the same?
They almost taste like a vanilla cookie. Not a true Oreo. But they're like even better because, you know, Gaga made every one of them.
Yeah, I hit my hand like in a lab. I haven't had an Oreo in years, but I mean, not to say that I don't eat cookies like 5 times a week, but I just haven't had Oreos in a long time. Now you made me kind of want Oreos. All right, we're getting towards the end here. I want to know like what's next for Stephanie. What do you want long term? I don't know, all that stuff. Like what do you see like 5-10 years from now? Like what do you hope for? What do you dream for? Go.
I'm really along for the ride right now. Like if I stay in Kansas City, great. If I move somewhere else, that's fine too. I'm kind of open to whatever at the moment. I'm really happy with where I work. I think my coworkers truly are the reason why I'm still there. I've really created great relationships with them. In the next 5 or 10 years, ideally, I would love to be married. I would love to have kids. I want to carry my own kids. Ideally, I want like twins, boy, girl, one and done, call it a day.
Nice.
HR goals, I would love to be an HR director. I don't know if I want it to be like of a hospital or some sort of large company, but that's kind of my goal. Otherwise, I'm just kind of going along for the ride, and whatever happens is supposed to happen, and I'm going with the flow.
Yeah, I think what I'll wrap it up on, like, I think what I've observed about you when we were in closer proximity and like even in this conversation, like you have really good intuition. And I think that you like this was a thought I had earlier and I didn't say it when you were talking about switching from counseling to HR or to the business side. I think a lot of people wouldn't have made that same decision because I think that like people think that like when they commit so much time to something, like they have to like see it through for some reason and they don't have the courage to like shift course. And I thought that showed courage because it added like a whole other year to this process that we were describing earlier is like pretty horrific. Like
brutal. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that like the reason I'm bringing that up, I think whatever direction you go, like I have confidence knowing you that like you'll listen to your intuition and you'll be totally cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, Stephanie, thanks for coming on. Do you have any final thoughts before we end this thing?
I don't think so, but thank you so much for having me on and letting me tell my story. And like I said before, I hope somebody can relate and learn something new. And I hope this podcast just takes off for you. I think what you're doing is so awesome and great. Just talking to normal people and they're not celebrities. And it's awesome. I just hope it takes off for you.
I really appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you coming on and I appreciate you sharing. And thanks for listening, everybody. Everybody take it easy.